Hello, welcome to the Holistic Healer Podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things holistic. I am your host, Cheryl Lee. Today's guest is Guy Finley. He is a motivational speaker, author of over 40 books, audio and video programs. He is the director of the Life of Learning Center for Spiritual Discovery and runs the online Wisdom School. He is an internationally acclaimed spiritual teacher and has been the guest on more than 500 radio and television shows. Today is a deep dive into spirituality, self-awareness, finding the greatness within, and so much more. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holistic Healer Podcast. I am your host, Cheryl Lee, and today's guest is Guy Finley. I am so excited to have Guy on my show. He is the author of over 40 books, audio and video programs. He is the director of the Life of Learning Center for Spiritual Discovery and the Online Wisdom School. And he is an internationally acclaimed spiritual teacher and has been featured on over 500 radio and television shows. So I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm glad to be with you, Shirley.
Yeah, amazing. So I always kind of like to give a little backstory for my audience as to your journey and your path of how you got to this present moment, kind of some defining moments along the way that got you to the here and now. I know that's a loaded question, but...
Yeah, honest to God, I wouldn't know where to begin, and I know that I need to supply some kind of backstory, but... suffice it to say that I was born and raised in a relatively wildly successful show business family. My father literally invented late night television talk shows before names that I'm not even going to say because nobody's alive that except for me that remembers them. But way before Johnny Carson, there were okay. Men, individuals, and before them. So I grew up, Cheryl Lee, with the friends of the Sinatras, the sons of the Sinatras, the Arnezes, the Martins, again, names, the Manellis, names that have no meaning anymore.
Yeah.
But back in the day, that was, in quotes, who you wanted to be.
Right.
And I'm grateful for the experience because it taught me almost from the time that I was 6 or 7 years old. And I don't know why it was that way for me, that why all of this glamour and glitter, all of this importance and social prominence, and yet everybody that I knew, meaning all of the parents of these children, not one of them was happy. Everyone was afraid and angry. And as a child, I couldn't understand why, but I knew that there was some kind of great disconnect between the seeming content of a person's life at the upper echelon of society, and yet the suffering was immense. Again, I had no way of reconciling this, but it formulated a question before I was 7 years old. I had these questions. What in the name of God's going on? Why is everybody dysfunctional? Including my mother and father. God bless their souls. And I guess if you were going to summarize it, it wasn't like, some straight, path.
Yeah.
But through a series of experiences and careers, I became a very successful singer-songwriter, first white soft rock group to sign with Motown Records in the early 70s before probably most people were born listening to us. But nevertheless, that was what it was. And I worked with Neil Diamond. I wrote music for television shows and cinema, and had quite the life right up to about 29 years old. I had a home in Malibu, horses, the whole 9 yards as a kid. And then one day I was sitting there writing music and I started banging my head on the piano because I was now, instead of liberated by my love for music and what I thought would be my freedom, I was now a captive of a set of conditions that I had no idea how in the name of God that I got that way. Why do I have to write music now? I loved writing, but now I've got deadlines, and I I basically, at 29 years old, in my head, it went on for a few more years, but I quit.
Mm-hmm.
I literally quit.
Wow.
I traveled around the world. I went to see certain spiritual gurus, individuals in various places, dusted more feet with my forehead than I can count, hoped to get lit up by some Shaktipat to straighten me out forever. And came home after several adventures, completely disillusioned. Not that there wasn't a solution, an answer to the pain,
Right.
to my longing for something divine, but that I wasn't going to find it at the feet of any other man or woman. And that I wasn't here on this planet to imitate another human being, but to find out what was inimitable, what couldn't be imitated. And so all of that experience, by the time I was 30 or 31 years old, brought me to a very definitive point in my own work, at which point, by the grace of God, as far as I'm concerned, and it wasn't by accident, but that's another whole story, which I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
By providence, I met an enlightened, an authentically enlightened, no nonsense. Don't throw yourself at my feet. Don't even call me sir. A true mystic, a Christian mystic, and spent 14 years working with him, and eventually as a co-director of his work at that time. And when he died, fast forward, I did what I was instructed to do. I began to do my own work and talks, and that's it. I don't know if that's enough of a nutshell.
Yeah. No, that gives a really good kind of foundation of just kind of how things kind of unfolded.
Yeah.
In your journey. So,
I forgot to add three things.
Yeah.
And along the way, paralyzed and remain so, left side, leg down, cancer, broken neck, and a host of other, what most men and women call tragedies, that I wouldn't change for all the money in the world. So those are important to get that, a lot of suffering in there.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this is going to be, I have like a lot of things I kind of want to unpack in relationship to that. But I guess I thought it might be, when I was thinking about our interview today, I was thinking how it would be good after we kind of establish what your journey was, what would be a good starting place. And what I came to was to start at the place of traumas and wounding of people who, most people are walking around with some kind of, something's happened to them, and they are not able to see any kind of expansion in that. Rather, they come from a victim consciousness instead. And so for most people who are living in that space, that kind of life is working against them, how important do you feel is it to actually unpack those woundings and traumas that we may have experienced in our childhood that kind of started to shape us and that we carry into our adult life?
Well, I understand the language unpack, but I think it's a little, if it's going to be healing, it needs to be a little bit more immediate than that. More like, why am I carrying this bag with me at all?
Right.
So that I think we have to understand, and I hope I'm not too complex at the start of our conversation.
Yeah,
so
it's okay.
Now you can slap me around if you need to.
Okay, if I have to, I will. I'll do the virtual slap.
Yeah, just do the virtual slap, and then I'll go like that. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Just shake it up a little bit.
It's context, Cheryl Lee. Why am I alive? What am I doing on this planet? And if my answer is to make a lot of money, look really good in my own eyes and the eyes of others, achieve some kind of social respect or prominence, then good for you. Go do it. But when you come to the end of all that, which you will, because there is nothing baked into that cake that satisfies the soul, at the end of that, you will have come to what happens when a person runs into these traumas, these disappointments, these massive shocks in our life, and I call those shocks a close encounter of the truthful kind. Because in that moment, I'm running head on into something that completely challenges my idea of why I'm here, my life. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Because up to that moment, I believe that who I am is someone who should always look good, act right, be respected. And then something comes along and it goes, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you said, many, many men and women, all we know to do is go, no, 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 no. So why is life punishing me? But if we can get to the point where we start to understand, and this is where I like to help individuals realize this immense contradiction in our consciousness. You ask any, even quasi-aspirant, well, let's see, you agree when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you agree that you want to be in full alignment with the teacher. Oh, yes, absolutely, because the teacher, is from the heavens, celestial. Yeah. Okay, so then, all right, so let me get this straight. There's a host of lessons in this curriculum that you like, but when there's something happens to you you don't like, suddenly there's no teacher involved, just some tormenting world trying to drag you down. And we either accept the premise that life at its basis, not human beings, but life at itself, the divine itself is good at its root, and that what we encounter in this life is intended to bring us into and through an education for the soul, or we don't. And that's the context. If we still think that life is divided up into moments I want that are good and godly, and the moments that I want that are ungodly, we don't have a chance to be able to use what happened to us, let alone what will continue to happen to us, because it's part of the constant balancing of this relationship that this body and man has with this kingdom and this other world.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as I've kind of looked into over the years of Sri Ramana Maharshi and his teachings of who am I, which is essentially that, where all of our external stuff is kind of stripped away. What are we left with? What is left underneath that?
Yes.
But so many define themselves when you ask them, who are you? I work here and I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm this, I'm that, but they don't really truly understand the question. And so do you think that asking that question of who are you, and you're not allowed to answer what you do or who you're related to, is that a good starting point for people to try to uncover some awareness and insight into letting go of what, the quote unquote, the baggage that we just talked about?
This is a good question, but, and look, it's as valid as I am sincere.
Mm-hmm.
No sincerity, no validity. End of story,
Yeah.
So if I'm looking for a short-term answer, let's see, Guy, who are you, without saying what you do, what you have, who you love and who loves you, or where you're going or what you've been. If I run into that question and I don't have an answer, the first thing that's going to happen as a rule is that this imagination is going to kick into gear. And I'm going to look for, and without knowing it, this is so important. This is, God help us. We judge ourselves painfully enough as it is, let alone to start judging ourselves for our wish to know something about the divine.
Yeah.
If I can start to understand that my identity as I am now is a derivative identity. I haven't really an identity of my own, because everything that I know about myself only exists relative to an image the mind holds within itself about myself in this life. So that if my idea of who I am is that I have to be approved of by people, I don't think to myself when people disapprove of me that, the problem is that I'm looking for confirmation of an image. I don't think that to myself. I think there's something wrong with people that they don't see me the way I see myself. If I'm feeling incomplete or lonely, I don't know it passes through my mind an image of, the scarf flying in the wind, driving a Porsche with a big white smile, or, a home overlooking the ocean in Malibu. I don't know that those images flood into my mind, and that I find peace in a future to come. And you cannot find peace in a future to come because any image you have of a time to come comes with the fear that that image won't be completed or something will interrupt it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have to start, and you're right, we have to start stripping stuff away. But it's important that it's not a process of unconsciously affirming ourselves, but rather allowing the natural negation of this identity to take place as I see. For instance, I'm sick to death, worried about, for instance, I'm not, but let's just say I'm headed out to see my daughter in Florida. I don't like to fly. Mm-hmm. The truth is, if I could turn my camera around, you'd see I live on a little mountain. I have a little house. I have all my friends outside, the deer and the turkeys and the squirrels. You know, I'm so content here. I get to contemplate every morning. Mm-hmm. I have a, by the grace of God, a beautiful life. I don't want to go anywhere.
Right.
But I know I need to go. There are certain requirements, necessities as a father, so forth and so on. So I got to go. Now, if my mind starts talking to me about, you know, you're going to get up at 3:00 in the morning and go to the airport. I don't want to go. I'm going to sit in a plane squished with people. I don't want to be, you know, all that's there. But that needs to be understood as grist for the mill.
Yes.
Not what I eat. So if I understand my mind, because it's asleep, wants to predict and imagine conditions, then in its imagining will be fear and dread and resistance.
Right. Yeah, got you.
Right? So listeners, if you like to write stuff down, there is no such thing as psychological fear, dread, anxiety, or worry without negative imagination.
Right.
End of story. So if I'm anxious, angry, worried, frightened, it's because not the world is doing what it is, but because I'm an imagination about what the meaning of the moment will be. So the solution isn't to try to change or control the condition. The condition is the result of being in a dream. Wake up.
Yeah.
Connect the pain to what's producing it instead of trying to change the source of the pain, because your mind says that's where it's coming from. It's coming from my own unconscious nature and my identification with it. So that's the context that I would put all of this into when we start to try to help people, assuming they've asked. Don't help people that haven't asked.
Sure.
You'll get your head bit off, you know?
Yeah.
Right? You know that.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the context, Shirley.
Yeah, got you. So then if we take that maybe a little step further then into, you know, assuming that the people who are listening to this are going to kind of be on the level that we're talking about in terms of understanding some of these kind of foundational principles, I guess, when it comes to spirituality and evolution and these types of things. So what are your thoughts then in terms of in that the soul chose to incarnate into this lifetime for the purpose of growth and evolution, and that the people, places, things, good, bad, ugly, whatever those happen to be, they are there for a purpose, and they are directly, if we're able to see into them as being a positive, rather, like you just said, rather than a negative, that it's all for the purpose of growth and evolution, and that we chose this. Like, I feel like sometimes people will say, well, I didn't choose this. I didn't choose these things to happen to me. But if you look at it through a different lens and realize, well, you did choose this. What are your thoughts around that in the sense of choosing our experiences, whether we want them or not?
First, nobody chooses to hate somebody, but we have hatred in us. Nobody chooses to be an anxious wreck or an addict, but given the circumstances, we are all anxious at times. And without most of us agreeing to it, we are addicted to a host, if not of substances and foods, our own thoughts, and this identity, this narcissism that we have about ourselves. Addicted to looking in a mirror, addicted to wanting people to approve of me. So I didn't choose that, but lo and behold, here I am. So the first thing is to recognize once I understand, because we don't, honest to God, Cheryl, a lot of us believe that fear somehow is a mandatory experience on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like fear is good
Mm-hmm.
because it's protecting me.
Right.
Fear doesn't protect me. Fear protects what is fearful.
Right. Mm.
But I don't know that I have what is fearful in me because I have an image of myself as being David going out to meet Goliath.
Right. Right.
You know? So
Yeah.
these contradictions that sit inside of our consciousness, they have to be unfolded, revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't choose, for instance, to be anxious, and here I am for the 1 gazillionth time, nervous, anxious, afraid, one day, God willing, I say to myself, Guy, how many times have you felt like this? And I go, a lot.
Mm.
And then that same dawning conscience says, well, how long do you want to keep doing this? Because fear tells you if you just get through this, done. And then you realize, well, it's not done. Something's lying to me.
Mm.
Negative states, when they appear in the psychic system and produce with them at the same time the fear of something, promise the freedom from the fear.
Mm.
Anything that promises freedom from the fear is part of the fear itself.
Mm.
Fear, without us knowing it, becomes our guide. And I have to ask the listeners, I know you're tracking,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm suddenly afraid or anxious, who do I turn to help me get out of this moment? Anxious, I got a plan, I got to work on, got to do all this so I won't be afraid. Well, who's my God in that moment, Cheryl? Right? This unconscious nature. So the first thing is, can I get a little bit of a taste of that so that in that discovery, I start to be a little less willing to lend my life to some negative, angry, hateful, frightened, anxious state.
Mm.
I say to myself, I don't want to go down that road again. Now, I can't say I don't want to go down that road again until I've been down that road again a million times.
Mm.
That's where it becomes a choice. The choice was never to hurt myself. The choice is to see where it is that I'm doing that. And then in that awareness, realize time for a new choice.
Mm-hmm.
It gets, yeah. And God help me, I don't know what that new choice is other than to stop doing and being who I've done myself and been up till now. Then the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, right. So then when it comes to, like you spoke about, using, for example, food or alcohol or drugs as a way to essentially numb out.
Yes.
When we're talking about awakening to the idea that of all of the things you just spoke of, then is it important to take a tally essentially of the things that you are numbing out with? Because my next question was going to be, like, what does it mean then to become, or not become awakened, but to feel like you're progressing down the road of awakening or having awareness? So that, I'm not sure that if you are, every night you're choosing to drink a couple bottles of wine and get intoxicated, are you going to reach the awareness that's required to develop the mindset that's necessary to evolve in that direction?
Yeah.
Because there's everything, every corner you can numb out. It doesn't matter, right? There's things all around us.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Mm.
And I like the thoughtful questions because it allows us to put a certain fine point on what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
What's behind all this wish to distract myself, to drink myself, to eat myself, to travel myself? What's behind all that? Because this is what we're looking for. We're not looking for a way to excuse or justify. In one essence, we're saying, what would it be for me to be a fully responsible man or woman right now? Not tomorrow when I apply my idea of responsibility, but right now. And here's what we get to. Take a deep breath, everybody. This is somewhat stunning. if I really get to that point, I realize, God help me. I don't know what to do with this pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in pain.
Right. Mm.
I'm disturbed. And I have traveled, I have eaten, I have drinking,
Mm-hmm.
I have sexed,
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've become a multimillionaire.
Yeah. And yet it's still there.
I've traveled to the top of the mountain and counted pomegranate seeds for 5 years. I've done it all. And
Right.
one day, and please take this as an encouragement, everybody. You really do, in a way, have to do it all. Life is not a race to win. It's a school for our higher education. But first,
Yes.
you have to get out of Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and all the rest of that, which you can't be judged for. I discover myself through my relationships.
Yes.
And I'm drawn to these relationships because through them, I see things about myself I couldn't see otherwise.
Yeah.
So I have to go through experience to finally recognize that all of the things that I'm experiencing in this world are because of the conditions that I've been drawn to for actually the purpose of revealing my own consciousness to me.
Right.
And at a certain point, I realize conditions commission. Directly with this part of me that says, dazzle him with footwork.
Mm-hmm.
Look so good that no one can do of anything but think about how intelligent you are.
Right.
Use lots and lots of words so that you bury the fact that you don't know what the hell you're talking to.
Right.
I mean, just all of that. And then I'm left, actually, here's something that I speak 3 times a week online. Oh, no, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
True freedom is the unconditional willingness to experience myself in the moment as I am. Period. End of story.
Mm.
The unconditional willingness to experience myself as I am in the moment, not as I hope to be, not as I was and don't like. What is it to be me?
Mm.
And if I'm honest, I go, OMG.
Mm.
I am in the midst of some kind of chaos.
Yeah.
I don't know up from down, left from right. And that is the beautiful starting place.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. So I want to move on to kind of this whole notion of the people pleaser, because that's very prevalent in our society. Everyone wants to please everybody and kind of, throw themselves under the rail, basically. But I just want to circle back around to this pain piece, because we know that in society, people are carrying around, again, a lot of pain. They're living out of the pain body. And coming back to the inner child piece, where the part of ourselves that feel that inner child was traumatized, wounded, hurt, all of these things, I feel in a lot of ways that until you have a relationship with that inner child inside of yourself and are able to stand in either the adult version of yourself, because I think a lot of people are operating from that childlike, not in a good, I mean, it's great to have a childlike nature, but I'm talking about from that reactive place where some of our earliest wounds were formed, that being able to overcome that pain, or to actually just see that you were hurt, to uncover that is so important. Because are we really able to, until we kind of reconcile that, are we truly able to move past the pain, even if we can be in the present moment that you just spoke about and say, here I am right now, this is what's important. But that pain in us is so strong that it can just, even subconsciously, we just allow it to run the show so many times. So I guess the question in that is circling back around to make amends with that child part of ourselves that was injured and hurt and felt betrayed, and then be able to step into the adult who can say, look at this present moment now. Does that make sense?
I understand the question.
Yeah.
What if, Shirley, we didn't divide all that up?
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned when we were talking, and I doubt there's anybody listening to us that hasn't had some kind of physical trauma,
Right.
whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to planet Earth.
Yeah.
You're in a body, here's some pain.
Exactly.
Now, do I heal my own body, or do I cooperate with the greater principles that operate the body
Mm-hmm.
and allow it and take it through what the body, the natural intelligence of the body knows to do? So I am cooperative. I take my natural supplements. I exercise. I try to eat the best foods that I can afford, organic, blah, 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 blah. But when I have cancer or I've paralyzed or I've broken my neck, I don't put my neck back together again.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use these words, a nature that is inherent in all creation sees to the reconciliation of the loss of balance, the brokenness, and it heals and makes whole what had been put asunder.
Right.
How much more so is that true when it comes to the soul?
Yeah, really true.
It's an illusion that somehow or other, I, who have this pain, am going to heal me who has pain. Nothing in the universe completes itself.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in the universe, every creation, and particularly human beings, are part of a broader, greater celestial system that's never not working to bring everything that's out of whack into whack.
Mm-hmm.
So that my job with this pain isn't to try to sort through why it's there. I have a billion reasons. The pain is what is immediate. The explanation for it is the past, predicated on a future to come where I won't be in pain anymore.
Got you. Yeah.
Right? And one more thought, if I might.
Yeah, of
please.
course.
So we have this mistaken idea, God help us. I'm not here to free myself from my pain. I'm here to understand the pain so completely that I allow the awareness of that pain to do what only the awareness can do to the fragmented body that is the producer of that pain, this consciousness that is schism, that is fractioned. The experiences, in fact, of course, where there was great injustice, harm, cruelty, maliciousness done to a child, no idea what to do with it.
Right.
So indeed that goes on, but it only goes on because the child, not knowing what to do with it, resists and resists and resists the pain every time it comes up, until we're so afraid of our pain, Cheryl Lee, that we don't that the only thing we know to do is to try to get rid of it. You will never be free of any pain that you're trying to get rid of. Ever.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm.
What you must do is recognize your right relationship to the greater whole that is showing you. Again, I go to a supermarket, somebody looks at me with disrespect. Now, why would I get negative because somebody seems to disrespect me? Unless in this consciousness is buried this desire that somehow, unless everybody sees me the way I want to be seen, I'm going to be in pain. So I blame the person for the pain.
Right.
The person's not responsible. We bring with us, without knowing it, a consciousness that is in the present moment, responding to any circumstance that challenges its matrix. And then without understanding, it's the matrix that has to be dissolved. Right. The light of awareness needs to bring everything into reconciliation. And it's already built into it, Cheryl Lee. That's the beauty of it. It's already built into us to be healed.
Like it's by design.
Yes, by design. We just have to play our part in it instead of trying to be the one who's pushing it through and making doing all the rest of that. So it really is a relationship of acceptance and a relationship of allowing a certain transformation to take place that I must agree to go through. I think Christ's life is a pretty good example, even though religion has ruined it.
Right. Yes.
Right. Thy will, not my will. And I can't understand why, if God is good, I'm in pain.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that God is good has nothing to do with anything other than helping you understand. If you would allow that goodness to show you that there is indeed a purpose to this pain, and the purpose of the pain is to reveal where it is that I'm still walking around a divided human being, someone who has these ideas and images, forcing, fighting, trying to. I wrote these words down. Have you ever tried to rule the moment with an iron will? I know you have.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I'm gonna bend this moment to my will. You know,
Yes.
the only thing that gets bent when you're like that, me.
Yeah. Yourself. You're all tiled up.
Yeah.
So I like what, because so many times, like you just use the example of going to the grocery store, somebody, says something, looks at you the wrong way. And I always like to say the 3 T's: trust, the triggers, to teach. And so that when you're triggered and you're able to just start the self-inquiry of the day and
like
looking
that.
at things, how they, how you react to things, and just start. I just think that's a really good, just have a little bit of awareness and realize, ooh, that doesn't feel good in my body. There's a lesson in that. There's some kind of a teacher, a treasure within that. And it allows you to not to stop projecting onto people and realize that all of that is coming from within, and that the people outside, they're like actors, in this great film of your life,
I call them God's secrets agents.
Yeah, I love that. God's secret. Yeah, they're there. They're there but like we just talked about, it's all by design.
Yes.
They're there for a purpose, and it's for the good. It's for the good. So if we can change the thought process around that. And I love what you've said. I've heard you say this before, that the change happens when you realize that you can't avoid yourself.
You can't.
That you just can't. You're where are you going to go?
Please let me avoid myself.
Yeah. But like you just said, and it's so important, you can have the house on the hills, count 1 trillion pomegranate seeds, all of these things, but there you are.
Again and again and again. And one more time, just to put that maraschino cherry on Cheryl Lee's Sunday, even though today is whatever today is.
Tuesday, Sunday.
There's only one way that we will ever, as human beings, be liberated, and that's the proper word, not liberate ourselves, be liberated from fear. And that is when I understand that the way out is not around, it is through. And through means I'm going to have to stay with this great upheaval, this uneasiness, this pain. I'm going to have to stay with it a heartbeat longer than I ever have before, so I can see something in that heartbeat about it I never saw before.
Right.
I must gain a little insight. If I'm willing to be patient, one of my favorite words in all spirituality, do you know the original, and I mean the original meaning of the word patience down through the millennia?
No.
Listeners, write it down. When I first heard this, I thought, sweet God, those men and women, they did know something. Patience means to suffer yourself.
Oh, wow.
Tell me that isn't beautiful. Now I get it.
Yeah.
For most of us, no, that's not beautiful. I'm spending my whole life trying not to suffer myself.
Yeah.
But if you listen to Cheryl Lee and I talk, you start to realize, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's
happening.
That's 24/7. And so is the healing. So is the discovery. So is the exploration. And so is the liberation. We are really the most extraordinary. I be careful how I phrase this, because I don't want to put people into unnecessary imagination. But amongst the infinite number of beings that there are, humans have been given a very unique potential. It said the angels themselves envy human beings. If you've never heard that, it's scriptural, east and west. Why? Because we have the particular possibility, not guaranteed, but accessible, of participating in the act of creation itself, moment to moment. So that, like everything, whether we see it or not, is incomplete and completed, and then incomplete and completed. Everything reborn, all the metaphors of the seed in the ground, everything reborn, reborn, reborn. We can know ourselves as not just what is being reborn, but the ground of it.
Mm-hmm.
If we're willing to go through dying to ourselves, which in the end is what we have to do. If I finally stop trying to escape my pain, I realize I can't stop this. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to have to, familiar words, hand it over.
Yes.
Not hand it over because I'm going to get a box of chocolates.
No.
But hand it over because that's all that's left to do. And when you really understand that's all that's left to do, you are led bit by bit to a brighter, broader understanding of what you've avoided your whole life.
Yeah.
You want to hear a great story?
Yes.
I love this story. Here's a woman, and she's been on the lam. Those are words from 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
She's has judged herself as being a crook, a criminal, terrible things. And she's been running her whole life from a sheriff who's been chasing her. This is a kind of a beautiful story, even mythologically, but been running her whole life. And then one day, this woman, she finds a place, she's sitting there. I'm tired of running. I'm not getting anywhere. Am I going to die running? And she decides, you know what? Better to just go ahead and go through what I have to go through. They're going to throw me into some slammer. They're going to put me away. I don't care anymore. And finally, the sheriff catches up to her and says, there you are, he says. I've been chasing you for 18,000 years. She says, I know. I can't run anymore. He said, thank God. He said, because all I wanted to tell you was that the governor's pardoned you.
Oh. You could have saved yourself all of that suffering.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. By willing to be responsible for my character.
So I feel in that there is a level of trust that needs to be kind of governing that, what you just spoke about, that there needs to be a trust in the universe and the divine and God.
Oh, gosh, Shirley, I don't know. See, because if the minute I have trust, there's me and the thing I have trust in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need trust to know I'm in pain.
Right.
I don't need trust to know I can't save myself. Now, we just have to go through it.
You have to go through it.
I've been speaking to men and women for over almost 45 years. Everybody wants the drive-through happy McDonald's transformation meal.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
They don't want the suffer meal. I'll take the wounded trauma meal.
I just want the taste of what I want.
Well, would a better word than trust be surrender?
If I see beyond the shadow of a doubt, just as an example, every day something comes along and it brings up some anxiety in me. A little bit of fear appears. If I see that, do I need trust to know that if I identify with that fear or anxiety, I'm going to just be reincarnating that consciousness?
No.
Or is it innate in that revelation? See, that's why I don't need trust. It's innate in the revelation.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. And every revelation by its basis is the observer and the observed finally seen as being a singularity, right?
Okay.
Everything for us is that's out there, I'm here. But when there's true revelation, true awareness, then the observer and the observed, what is seen and the seer, it's a singularity. I don't need trust for that. And in that unity, in that light that dwells in the darkness that the darkness knows not, is the healing. Because I'm brought to that awareness of what I don't know about myself, so that that light can begin to act on that consciousness, reveal itself to itself, and begin the process of integration, which is healing.
Got you. So, because I think, we can all, if we're on this path and we have started to see that, life is for us, not against us.
Correct.
That we can look at times in our lives where things felt hard. How are we going to get through this? and
Love it.
see that those were all necessary as
Yes.
part of our growth and expansion, and that they were there as, like I just said, they were teachers. They were there on purpose
Yeah.
for us.
See, that's where we can bring this word trust in, but then it wouldn't be trust, it would be faith.
Right.
And it would be faith in the fact that, as you've
Yes.
said, I've been hurt so many times where I thought I was going to die. I would have given my mother away to escape that moment.
Uh-huh.
And here I am 6 months, 6 years, 60 years later. I go, thank God that happened.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Now that's happened 10, 20, 50, 100. Maybe there's a plan.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
the plan isn't me having trust in a plan. The plan is me experiencing myself as the instrument of the plan, an undivided consciousness discovering itself through all of the conditions through time that show something timeless started me, and it'll take care of me if I'll just agree to it.
Yes. And so also having the knowing that as powerful creators, that we all have a purpose here. And to start uncovering that is through those lessons along life, because there'll never be another Shirley. There's never going to be another Guy Finley, but so many people. We hope, yeah. Oh God, please don't let there be another one of me.
No, now I know you have some self-knowledge.
Yeah, right, please. But all of that to say that if I don't do me, I won't be done. If I don't do me, no one else is going to do my purpose that I am here to express.
Yes, but beauty. It is true. I am given this life to be a creator.
Mm-hmm.
I am given a life to be a creator so that through what I create as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
in the process of creation is self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
I learn about my character's qualities, potentials through the things that I'm drawn to do, through what I love, God willing.
Right.
Now, that is me as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
But before I am a creator, I am a creation.
Right.
And
Yeah.
as a creator, I'm not here to create my life and my purpose. As a creator, I'm here to discover that creation has given me a purpose.
Mm.
And that if I am in proper relationship between creation and creator, then I discover my purpose as a result of that relationship, not me trying to push my idea of my purpose on life. That's called prison.
Yes.
But rather as a creation going through being a creation, so that they're not separate, but there is an order to them. First, a creation, the purpose of that creation fulfilled through me being a creator and exploring creation through that. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So then just circling back around to the word surrender, to surrender to, what does it feel like to surrender?
You know, again, we can bring people in. When I call truth, this path, a crisis is a close encounter of the truthful kind.
Mm.
In the moment of that crisis, I'm not going, this is beautiful. I'm going, oh no, oh no, oh no. And even very far down the line, when the first moment comes and it's apparent that it's bringing up this wall of resistance because some character, some old residue of Guy's life is sitting down there in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no. Even then, the crisis has to be recognized. I liked your 3T thing. I thought that was pretty good. I did, because can I use the trigger as a teaching tool?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't go, this is glorious, but I understand that I must now surrender to the lesson in the moment.
Okay.
I mustn't tell myself what the lesson is. God help us from telling ourselves what the lesson is.
Mm.
The lesson is inherent in the moment of the resistance, because the resistance is revealing what is hidden. Resistance conceals. We think resistance somehow separates us from the pain, when the pain is the result of the resistance. The pain is the result of the resistance. So the task here in the moment of surrender is a certain kind of acceptance where I am aware at once of the fact, again, like Christ, I don't want this. Take this cup. This is the wrong, you've got the wrong man.
Yeah. I want a new one.
This cup has something in it that doesn't look good to me, right? I want this big Slurpee. So I have to go, okay. And then I must drink from the cup, which really is the moment itself is the drink.
Right.
It's not like, oh, what's this cup I'm going to drink? The moment, can I accept what I am being shown as true about myself without doing one thing about what I'm seeing? And with being willing to see that there's 1,000 things in me that want to do something about what I'm seeing. That's the true surrender. It is always a simultaneous glimpse of the opposites. Real surrender is always a simultaneous glimpse of the opposites. The condition I don't want and the me that doesn't want it. That's the glimpse of the opposites. And that glimpse of the me that doesn't want it and the thing it doesn't want can only take place in a field of awareness that is greater than the sum of the parts.
I love that.
There's the healing. Because now the observer and observed, they see, wait a minute, this is one thing. I always thought what she said and the suffering from it were two separate things. No, they're not. They're one thing. And the awareness of that one thing is where that one thing is brought into the light that begins to release me from my unconscious identification with it. The separation of the wheat from the chaff, as it were.
Okay. I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Good.
that's great. So we kind of covered like the trust, the surrender. These are kind of words that people throw around.
Yes,
but
definitively.
there's some deep meaning behind what the meaning of those words really is, right?
And deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yes. Uncovering, right?
Yes. Endlessly, because we have what is endless in us. How can the soul come to the end of the exploration of spirit if spirit is the vine relative to the branch? It is endless.
And so when we say it's never done, that it's never done, there's truth in that. It's never done.
And yet,
right?
and yet, enlightenment is instantaneous.
Right.
So
but
it's not,
people like to have like an end. People like to say, well, I'm going from A to B, and when I get to B, I'll be done.
That's
then when they get to B, they realize that they got to get to D, E, and then they have to do it about 1 trillion times.
Yeah. But not as a negative, because that's
not as
what
a negative.
Yeah. I want to get to the end of this because I want to be done with this pain business and get on to nothing but pleasure.
Right.
Well, that's pain.
Yes, exactly. That's right. So I wanted to kind of step into the people pleasing piece because I know that's up for a lot of people, especially now, with the social media being prevalent and all of this. And I like to say that authenticity is the new currency. So we're moving into that authenticity piece. Like, what does it mean to be authentic rather than being liked, or like people don't even know who they are or what it means, what the word means to be authentic, because they've adopted other people's belief systems. They've adopted other people's habits, the way they speak, and it, like I said, it's so prevalent now. So if you're measuring your value and your worthiness in the world by what other people think of you and basically handing over the keys to someone to your destiny because you're going to allow them to control what you think about yourself. What are some steps that people can do in regards to the people pleasing piece that would be like, kind of a step in the direction of not allowing others to literally control their entire existence? Because that's happening. I see it happening.
I mean, it's never been this bad.
I know.
And it's not going to get better for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
It can't. But for the men and women who can see that something is taking place that is the continual degradation of the possibility of having my own life.
Mm-hmm.
So let me throw a couple things out, and I know that you can't have your own life if you want anything from anyone. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as I think that what you have to give me or what you can take from me can control my life, my fear controls me, not you.
Mm.
I blame you for my fear. My fear is that I will be no one unless I am in relationship with something that makes me someone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that thing that makes me someone is other people, my job, my possessions, my home, my social prominence, my standing, makes no difference. That can be just as equally my appearance. Why do you think men and women are so terrified of growing old? You know, it used to be a long time ago when things were a little more sane,
Mm-hmm.
that age was seen as a beautifying process, not the end of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
That death was recognized as the fulfillment of a cycle, not the end of a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So that our consciousness is twisted now,
Yeah.
convoluted by the advent of unending material being dumped into our social networks, into our schools, into the world at large,
Mm-hmm.
where the values are determined by individuals who are seen as those who have and can give, and enthroned by those who think they have not and require.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a vicious codependency cycle taking place. And the only way that codependency can exist as it is through a consciousness that believes that as it is of itself, it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's always rooted that way. The word authenticity, the root word is what? Author.
Mm-hmm.
Author, what is that root word? Means the original,
Mm-hmm.
the true authority. And the true authority is not the government. It's not the people on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Rutbag or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? I don't know.
Whatever the new
Yeah,
media
whatever.
is. Yeah.
But see, I'm. Do you know what the hungry ghost is in Eastern terms?
Well, is that?
Did you ever see the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes.
Okay, you remember the ghosts? They were trying to eat and drink, and they pour, and it would just pour out of
Come
them.
out. Yeah.
Remember that? And they couldn't drink enough, could they?
No.
Why? Because they were spectral.
Yeah.
We have a spectral
Mm.
nature right now.
Yes.
It can't put enough down there to satisfy itself. That's
Yes.
what greed is.
Mm.
Greed is the belief that if I just get a little more
Yeah.
of what didn't satisfy me last time, this time I'll do it.
Yeah.
And the more I take in, the more empty I am.
Yeah.
The more empty I am, the more I need to take in. Well, that's this relationship that we have with other human beings. This terrible, horrible, painful belief that I am only as valuable as you agree I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment I live like that, I'm done. And it's not I. That consciousness will grow increasingly dependent on those conditions for validation.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a great little quotation. This beautiful man I told you about that I met lifetimes ago. Permitting your life to be taken over by another person is like letting the waiter eat your dinner.
Mm.
One more, and this is for people to write down. The only thing that troubles you or me about other human beings is what we want from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. If I didn't want something from you, you cannot be a trouble for me.
Right.
So where's the fault? Is it with you that doesn't give me what I want? Or is it with me that meets you with demands in place that I don't even know I have?
Yeah.
And then when you fail to live up to those demands, I blame you or hate myself.
Right. And, it always comes back to the self.
Yes, indeed it does.
I mean, everything always comes back to the self, right?
to this presently unconscious nature that you and I have the gift of being able to become aware of.
Yes.
So that it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
That's an illusion.
Right.
It's integrated. Simple consciousness is the awareness of anything. Simple consciousness. A dog has a simple consciousness. It's aware of a bone.
Right.
A turkey sitting here on my deck right now has simple consciousness of the feeder above it. It wants the food.
Right.
Simple consciousness. The turkey will never know that it's a turkey and that it can't do anything other than be a turkey, like a lot of human beings.
Yeah, right.
It can never know that. A sleeping human being with simple consciousness can never know that it lives in utter dependency upon conditions outside of itself. The next level of consciousness is the awareness of simple consciousness, where now I'm aware of the fact that I have a consciousness that wants what it wants. Right. But the higher awareness shows me that what it wants can't make it happy. So now I'm willing to suffer the lower consciousness and die to it because I'm given the awareness that it's a dead end. It doesn't go anywhere except reincarnate itself. That's the end of reincarnating that consciousness at that level. Because awareness has dictated I cannot say I to it anymore. So a new I embraces the lesser I, and I'm no longer a victim of legion. Instead, I'm liberated from that unconscious relationship with it.
Wow. Yeah. I years ago, I had the privilege of spending some time with Wayne Dyer, and I love his one of his quotes. He used to say, "What other people think of me is none of my business."
Exactly.
And I love that because when you realize that it doesn't matter what you do, people are going to have opinions about you. People are going to, they're going to like you, they're not going to not like you, and that's never going to end. It never ends. And so that realizing, well, it's really just none of my business, you know, it's can give a little bit of a freedom sense in that.
When the edges of yin and yang, of active and passive, this great circulatory system of the celestial being, when that circulatory system moves, those edges from time to time, I don't have to know you not to like you. I can not like somebody immediately because our essence is of that dissimilarity.
Right.
But by the grace of God, I can understand that this feeling of dissimilarity doesn't mean that we're dissimilar. The truth is it proves we're quite similar because we're in this relationship. Now that conflict can turn into compassion. It can turn into a lesson that liberates me from this knee-jerk, don't like you, into what can I learn about myself through you that will allow me to be in a purer, more compassionate relationship with you. And none of that's in thought. I want to add that. That's all just unfolding, not me thinking through what it means to be a tolerant human being. The idea of tolerance in our culture today is secret superiority.
And so coming back, like we'll just use the example because it's so prevalent now on Instagram. You get the likes, you get the hearts. And for example, someone might post something and they didn't get a like, you know, and now all of a sudden their entire day is ruined and they're in a depression and down. Yeah, this is real though, right? This goes on.
It is. I know it is.
And it's very sad that it happens, but I guess to embody, you know, that, well, like what I just said, you're not allowing other people to, you're not taking it on as yours. I guess it's easier said than done, especially I think with the younger people, right? I mean, it really does require stepping into that kind of self-governed, sovereign, you know, the way that you're looking at things, because it is quite a state that we're in when it comes to these types of things.
Yeah, it is. And this is one of the hardest lessons in one respect, I think there is this discovery that everything is moving according to a kind of perfect, ceaseless reconciliation, and that it is not my job to see that that reconciliation takes place. It's my job to participate in it with patience.
Right.
So I look at the kids, the children, young adults, trying to make themselves look like another human being.
Right.
Sweet God, you could tell them till the cows come home, this isn't going to do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't until, sorry for the farm metaphors,
That's okay. I love it.
It isn't until the chickens come home to roost.
Right. Yeah. The chickens, the cows.
Yeah. That the child discovers or doesn't.
Mm.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
I destroyed myself. Either then I live in hatred of a world that didn't complete me, or I see that I was a fool for believing that I could complete myself through changing this. Mm. And each and every one of those shocks is either allowed and integrated, or it is rejected, and that person's life will go all the way through their time on this planet. Mm-hmm. And that man or woman will die in anger and in fear. Yeah. And we see it all the time, I might add. Something else we don't want to look at.
No.
I don't know if my mom and dad are gone. I was with both of them. God bless their souls. They were good men and women, but they were both terrified.
Yeah, mine too.
So how do I want, I'm throwing the big one out here now.
Yeah, good.
Do I want to wait and then regret that I misplaced my values, that my values were misplaced by an unseen immersion into an unconscious nature that I came into? Or do I want to die now to that unconscious nature? Mm-hmm. Not, oh my God, what's going to happen when, but it's happening now.
Right.
And where do I want to be? Then and there, or here and now? Because if I choose there and then, I'm dead in the water.
Yeah.
But if I see here, then and there are already dead in the water because they're in time and divided up, then this gradual marriage takes place. It would seem like the world is closing in on me, but it's not closing in on me. It's closing in on a consciousness that has created the walls themselves. Sorry for this giant metaphor.
No. I love it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love the explanation.
And in that, there's letting go. And those children, they have to go through it.
So then again, coming back to the present moment and the self.
Years ago, and I'm 74 now, so I don't know how much time I have left to do the stuff that I still want to do, because I still have at least quite a few more works to do. I got them. But at a point, and I don't know if it'll happen, I started to draw up a charter for a school for children. And one of the principal foundations of the school was to teach this idea called Project Individual Voice. Project Individual Voice. And voice was an acronym for Vanquish Our Invisible Common Enemy. Vanquish our invisible common enemy. And that means I was going to teach children that they have a part of them that will automatically not like each other, that will want to hurt each other, that's caught up in the competition and the ambition, and that each and every one of us looks at others as the source of that pain. The real enemy isn't the other, it is the idea of another. It is the idea of you as something other than myself, you as something separate from myself, as the source of my suffering. Because if I could teach children that, because that's what we're talking about, you and I.
Right.
This consciousness has created a world that it has made in its own image and then despises or tries to control the image it has made, and it goes through time like that. The collapse of every civilization that ever was on the surface of this planet follows the exact same steps. And that is, it makes things in its own image. It doesn't like it. It makes laws and new moral codes. It changes the image. The image gets more convoluted. It's more resisted. And finally, it collapses in upon itself, which is where we are right now in time, by the way.
Right.
So with children, what if you could teach them that when that kid throws that sarcastic remark at them, they don't have to catch it?
Yeah.
What if you could say, I had bags, I had different bags and actual exercises where you could actually teach a kid, oh, I don't have to catch that. And then there's a good bag with, you want to go to lunch, I can catch that. So you can begin to recognize thoughts that are helpful, thoughts that are harmful.
Right.
actions that are productive, actions that aren't. Why? Because I'm present to them in myself instead of blaming the children or the world around me.
And I also love that too, because it also allows for choice, that there's
Exactly.
always choice, that you
Always
don't
choice.
have to do anything.
Perfect.
You know,
Exactly.
just because somebody's throwing something at you, you have, you know, you get to choose.
You who are aware of what wants to choose against yourself has a choice.
Yeah.
You who are aware of the party that's about to have no choice at all, that's your choice. To see that and let it go by, and you stand there authentically yourself, being your authentic self, which is recognizing the tendency, but not running with it.
Yeah. And there's so much power in that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, we need to take our power back. And like I said, quit handing over the keys to others, take the power back and understand and know that we're driving the car. We get to choose.
Do I have to take the power back if I don't give it away?
No, exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, really, what if I just don't give it away?
But most people have given it away. So
I
they have
know,
to take it
but
back.
then they think, well, I got to take the power back. Now there's two of us again.
Yes, yes.
No, if I'm asleep and I agree to get negative, then now I have empowered you. I gave it away. Let
Right.
me not give away my life. If I don't give it away, I don't have to take it back.
Right. I mean, it sounds so simple, but you
I
know,
know, God help us. I know,
right?
Shirley. You know
Yeah.
how the difficulty of
Yes,
describing, let alone helping to discover.
of course.
It's a lifetime.
It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. And so, you know, the people who are just starting down this road, especially if they might be in their older years, it can be, you know, the more we practice something, the better we get at it. And that doesn't just go for the things we love. It goes for the things that, you know, we want to let go of, because we've literally spent a lifetime
Indeed.
in practice of our behaviors and
Absolutely.
tendencies and things that we really want to let go of.
Absolutely.
One thing I wanted,
Yes,
go ahead.
please.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm zipping the lip.
Well, no, that's okay. Because the one thing I wanted to ask you, just because it's kind of out there right now, is this idea of toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing. Because I know, but I want to ask you about it, because it's all over the place in a sense where people feel like there's no allowance for anything other than, so like, staying in a positive mindset and all of these things that we talked about. And yet on the other side of that, maybe feeling like somehow if they're feeling anything other than happiness, something's wrong with them. Or so they don't allow themselves to have any other feelings. Like, have you heard of those things? I'm sure you have.
I call that sinking with thinking.
Sinking with thinking?
Sinking with thinking. The more labels I have, the further away from liberation I am.
Right. That makes sense.
Why in the name of God do I need to have all of these? That's what I was saying about civilization. It's just putting different makeup on a pig.
Right.
End of story. Just keep a new costume, new makeup, get a hat, put a bow, brighter lipstick. It's the endless story of trying to deal with something that I won't just meet. So I give it another name, and then I get to meet my new image and idea of that name. Why do I need anybody to tell me what I can say or cannot say if I'm not in mortal fear that if I say something they don't like, I'm going to be canceled?
Right.
So my fear of being canceled isn't because somebody has authority over me. My fear of being canceled is that I won't be anyone in the eyes of the authorities. So here I am looking to the very people that I fear to make me fearless. Looking to them is my fear.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And when the sunshine comes down and it strikes the beautiful tulips, my wife is an avid gardener, beautiful garden, all these beautiful roses, all this sunlight coming down. When that sunlight comes down, it triggers the rose.
Yeah.
The rose goes, ah. and the sunlight that triggers the rose, that the rose initially resists part of the light. That's why you see the rose and the color. If the rose wasn't resisting part of the energy, you wouldn't even see a rose, let alone its color. It would have no fragrance.
Right.
So all that energy coming in triggers active, passive. We cannot not be triggered.
Right. That's impossible.
But that's what people want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? That's so true.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's impossible. So the question is the sunlight that triggers the rose and its growth, is the sunlight to blame for the growth, the triggering of the rose, or is it one thing with it?
Right.
One thing. Anything and everyone that triggers whatever lies in this consciousness at whatever level is there as an agent to participate in the potential growth or outgrowing of that consciousness. But
right.
we literally throw away the growth of the soul, the possibility of it, every time we resist anything that triggers us. Who put the trigger in me? Did you put the trigger in me? No. I'm born to be, that's my new, I love that. What a great sweatshirt. What a great sweatshirt that would be. Born to be triggered.
Yeah, born to be triggered.
Oh my God.
You got to have a front and a back though.
I just love that. And what if I really understood that?
Yeah, what if you really understood that?
That's what our work is it not?
Yes, it is.
As individuals and whatever our influence may be in the broader world, to help individuals understand, don't be afraid of being triggered. Use that moment to recognize the consciousness that fears the experience of itself in that moment.
Yeah. Then
the triggering serves for the triumph of the soul instead of being the torment of this consciousness that it's seeking in that moment.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I'll be the first one to buy your t-shirt.
I have another one that says, I'm already disturbed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that. So I wanted to also talk to you a little bit about meditation and using meditation, starting a meditation practice, a devotion practice to align, to get in touch with our being. How important do you think that is as a daily practice? Whatever that might not look like sitting in a corner with your legs crossed.
I got it. Did you ever go to Disneyland or any of those amusement parks?
Not Disneyland, but I've been to amusement parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
At a certain point, and for some of us, it's a lot later. At a certain point, you realize, I've been on that ride like 8,000 times now.
Right.
And I kind of know what's going to happen. I know that I have to get back in line. And I've kind of outgrown that. It's impossible to outgrow meditation because meditation is actually the living experience of myself as I am in the moment, as the moment gives me that experience. That's what meditation is. Mindfulness. That's what mindfulness is. Mm-hmm. But it takes a long time to have a living meditation where I'm meditating while I'm talking to you.
Right.
Ideally, I should be, other than when I have to be at work and using my mind for practical purposes. This is simple flow of consciousness. Other than that, I should remain in that state of quiet awareness. Right. For one reason only. Another saying that I like of my own: nothing enters into silence unannounced. So if I'm quiet, if my mind's quiet, no thought, no feeling, no trigger, no condition can jump in there and grab me, because I'm present to its entrance into this presence that's with me. So meditation is and should be something that an individual understands the importance of. But if the meditation becomes the ritual, and the ritual for the sake of just simply reliving the same kind of numbed experience, then it's dead in the water.
Got you.
In my own history, Cheryl Lee, there was a period of time in my early 20s where I spent maybe 7 years in certain practices for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Wow.
And I would never throw that away. It's just that served its purpose. And then each equivalent stage of awakening has its equivalent meditation, as it were. Yes. So we must continue to grow, not get stuck. In the spiritual path, don't make a campsite. That's how I say it.
Oh, I love that.
No campsite. Yeah.
So meditation could be a byproduct of becoming more aware and into alignment. So the meditation piece, meaning.
I see them as a similarity. I don't see it as a byproduct. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually aware in the moment, I may not know that it's meditation,
Okay.
but that is a place where in true meditation, the observer and the observed thought has quieted and there's a unity.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I'm in that form of unity, people don't know. One of the reasons people like to climb mountains, God help them, without cords, or
Yeah.
or whatever it
Extreme
is that we do.
sports, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, because they get into a meditative state. They are
Yeah.
in their body.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm in my body, there's no division.
Right.
I'm my breath, I'm my pain, I'm my feelings, I'm all of it, one thing. That's what meditation is. So
Mm-hmm.
we come to that through different things. I go and I see the Niagara Falls, or one day, God willing, I get to go see the Victoria Falls. You stand in front of a waterfall, you're meditating.
Right.
Because everything that's moving out there is moving in here. It's a singularity. That's meditation.
So meditation could be also, in essence, just being present in the moment.
Fully present.
Yes. Fully
Fully
present.
present. That's what
Mm.
meditation is.
Mm.
And I can practice that and
Mm-hmm.
develop a taste for that silence. And eventually, if I have that, it will grow on its own. What is beautiful and good and true in us, it wants to flower.
Mm.
We're not responsible for it flowering, but we can surely prepare the soil, give it some water and a little food once in a while.
Right. So I love that. Thank you for that explanation. This other thing I wanted to cover also is service and being of service to others. And, in this society right now, everyone's kind of in the get culture of what can I get? How much more can I get? We're consumers. We're absolutely overtaken by consumerism in a lot of ways. And so I feel as you start going down this path of the awareness piece and you come to the place of wanting to give back rather than to just take all the time. And you said before to ask that, or to say that your day has been prepared for you. I think I've heard you say that before. Or another way of maybe getting up and saying, how can I be of service today? How can I contribute today? How important do you feel is it to actually set your day up for service rather than what am I going to get at the mall?
Can I paraphrase a little bit of
Yes.
the New Testament?
Yes, please.
What greater service can a man or a woman have than to lay down their life for their brother or their sister? How about you cut me off on the road and I am in service to you by not glaring at you and hating you and having dark thoughts about wishing I had a laser to evaporate you on the spot.
Right.
Somebody runs into my heel in the market with their cart.
Mm-hmm.
I want to turn around and feel every impulse to glare at them.
Yeah.
What if I use that moment of pain to be aware of this self instead of making the other person suffer for their inadvertent mistake?
Yeah.
I've been asked so many times, Cheryl Lee, this question about service.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically always say the same thing. Mm-hmm. In my life, I never intended to be of service to anyone or anything but myself. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there was something inside of me that always wanted to explore what it wanted to explore. Mm-hmm. When love leads, service is innocent and instant. Mm. When it doesn't, service is self-serving. Mm. I didn't bring myself to this place of having this conversation with you. Mm-hmm. I didn't bring myself to this place of talking to thousands of men and women on a weekly. I didn't do that. Right. I got there, or more accurately, I was brought there by the thing I love. Mm. Let what you love teach you, tell you, lead you to where you may be of service. If you start thinking of yourself as a serving human being, someone who gets a gold crown or a red star on your shirt because you're going to go serve, right. You're not serving at all anything other than the image of yourself as being a spiritual person. Right. And it's a fine line. I would never tell someone do or don't do. I would say see or don't see.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's powerful. So just kind of to wrap this up, I have like 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
I thought it might be a good idea to end with the alignment piece of being in alignment. And what would be some signs that we may start to feel when we start to become in alignment with our self, with our purpose, with our soul, with our authentic nature? What are some things we might start to
I
recognize?
understand. I understand.
Hmm.
I just have to answer the question as fully as I can.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you ski?
No.
Do you, are you, let's imagine some sport.
I'll pretend I ski.
Bicycling,
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
There's always a moment in any athletic effort where you're no longer making an effort.
Hmm.
They call it in the
Yeah. Oh, I
flow.
love that. Hmm.
When you're in the flow, you are aligned. You cannot make yourself flow. Hell no.
No. No.
So apart from those natural moments where we are aligned and have the feeling of effortlessness, the feeling of no mind, the other time that we'll know we are in alignment is when we're aware of mind everywhere. When we're aware of, I'm the furthest thing from in flow. I'm sitting at this dinner table with my friends and I'm trying to figure out how to get some clever thing in there so they can go, boy, you're brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? That moment where you're aware of that is
Yes.
alignment. Because now you're aware of that nature. So you're aligned with the light that is revealing the unconscious parts of ourselves. So for the most part, what we call in alignment is going to be uncomfortable. That's why the great old teachers, the old adage is, do what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you don't want to do. Always go 1 mile further than you think you can go. All of those old aphorisms are about bringing this consciousness out into this awareness so that we can start to become aware of it instead of it doing what it does. So don't look for alignment. Don't try to align yourself.
Mm-hmm.
God help. Have you ever met a person? I'll show you my interpretation of a person who thinks they're in alignment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Big spiritual phony baloney, smiley face. Everything's beautiful until you don't bring my toast at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Be in alignment where you are with what you are in the moment you're there. All you have to do is that. The divine will take care of the rest.
Rest. Wow. Thank you. I love that. So I have one question that I ask all my guests. It's the same one at the end of the show. So the question is, what is your authentic life print? What is your unique expression in the world as Guy Finley?
I have no idea. God help me from having an idea about myself like that. Because the minute I have an idea about myself like that, anything that threatens that idea, or if I can't live up to it, I'm in hell. I don't want to live in hell.
No.
I want to use the purgatory of this, of this existence to do this purification that it's intended to do. So if I had one thing I would say, please let me be as present as I can to myself in the now, so that in the now I can begin this process of leaving behind what no longer serves me. Then I am in service to the divine and every other human being that I might meet.
It's beautiful. I love that answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Shirley.
So thank you so much. How can people, I'm going to list all of your contacts in the show notes after today, but what are some things that you're offering right now in terms of your school and things that, people can go further with you after this conversation that we've had today?
Yes. I can't believe I just looked at the clock. We've been on for almost an hour and 40 minutes.
I know. Isn't it great? The sign of a good interview. You lose track of time.
Look, it's simple. You and I, we've sat here and we've had really a nice dialogue. And we have together acknowledged certain difficult, but nevertheless beautiful ideas for the deliverance of a human being.
Yeah.
Now I must go beyond acknowledgement into what I call, I must act the knowledge. If I don't act the knowledge, I'm dead in the water. End of story. So to act on this knowledge, if you want to know more, first of all, guyfinley.org. You can spend a lifetime just going through the free material on my website, guyfinley.org/classes or /let go. And you can find out I speak 3 times a week for absolute free, nothing to join. You meet with men and women from all over the world, and we dive into these ideas 3 times a week for free, nothing to join.
Wow.
I have a wisdom school that for less than it costs you for a cup of coffee from Starbucks or Dutch Brothers, you can take part with other men and women in a more active role, and they meet one more time a week that others don't. Altogether, there are 5 or 6 meetings every single week online for free, other than the Wisdom School, which is like $5 or something like that. I don't know what it is. I do have a presence. I have a YouTube channel and all the other, and forgive me, the stuff that my students, that they've helped put up, which is tremendous. So then Reels, is that something? Reels?
There's Reels. Yeah.
There's Reels. I don't know where they are, but there's Reels, you know?
Okay. I'll find them and link them.
Yeah. There's all that, an unending flow.
Okay.
Find it, get in the water with me, and let's see where it goes. And that's it.
Yeah. Amazing. Beautiful. Well, thank you again. I'm so grateful.
Wait.
One more.
Because I thought to myself, I need to invite Cheryl Lee. Once every quarter, 4 times a year, men and women from all over the world come to the foundation in Southern Oregon for a series of special talks, 3 or 4 or 5 meetings over a 3-day period. If you come in late, sooner. Yeah. And you are invited as my guest. If you ever
you. I'm so close to you. I just live in Seattle. So,
God.
Super close. I would love that.
Messing around. Yeah.
I'll be there.
You talk to Terry, talk to Terry or Babs.
Okay.
And it's done. Just tell them what I said.
Thank you. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right next door.
Yeah, you and yours, no problem. And we can take care of that. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Oh, amazing.
So
thank you.
Now I'm done.
Now we're done. Well, there we go. So thank you so much. So grateful. And looking forward to our interview coming out and sharing. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. This is going to be amazing in person.
Great. It would be great.
Fabulous.
Love to shake your hand.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Guy.
You're welcome.